Hey folks, Jackdaw here. What if Cyberpunk 2077 had launched fully formed? No bugs, no compromises. What if it was built from the ground up by people who'd actually done it before? Well, that's the pitch behind Last Sentinel, a brand new cyberpunk open world set in a future Tokyo built by Lightspeed LA. A studio formed mid-pandemic and led by former studio head of Rockstar and production director at EA. This is the very same leadership that helped shape Red Dead Redemption, Midnight Club, and Grand Theft Auto 5, now joined by veteran devs from Naughty Dog, Respawn, Guerrilla, and more. There's no gameplay just yet, no sense of a release date, and no flashy PR cycles. However, there is one really good cinematic trailer, a few dev diaries, and ultimately the sense that something truly special is taking shape. Now, when I mention former Rockstar devs working on a brand new project, I'm not going to assume what you're thinking, but your mind may wander to Mind's Eye. And the whole debacle of, didn't this entire thing happen with Mind's Eye having a former Rockstar developer create that game? And we certainly did have that debacle, but this is certainly not that. You see, Mind's Eye was led by a former Rockstar producer, someone who handled timelines and budgets. Last Sentinel is being led by someone who literally managed the actual development of Red Dead and Grand Theft Auto. That is a completely different level of involvement altogether. So with Mind's Eye to one side, let's actually talk about what Last Sentinel is all about, because it seems to me that nobody is talking about this, and I really think they should be. And so the development of Last Sentinel starts, as many stories do, with a handful of people in a room. Late 2019, sketching what kind of games they'd make if they didn't have to answer to shareholders. That room turned into Lightspeed LA, a new studio under Tencent's Lightspeed Studios banner, which you might know as one of the largest game production companies in the world. But unlike many subsidiaries, Lightspeed LA was built with full creative autonomy, right from the ground up. Led by the one and only Steve Martin, and no, not the actor-comedian. This Steve Martin was the studio head at Rockstar San Diego. He helped ship Red Dead, Midnight Club, and GTA 5, and later became a production director at EA. Then he walked, left the security to start over truly, just before the world shut down. The team launched officially in early 2020, fully remote, of course, at the height of the pandemic. They had no office, no infrastructure, just a group of senior developers trying to build a AAA game from nothing. But instead of ramping up slowly, they went the other way. They built a team of specialists, narrative and cinematic leads from Naughty Dog and Respawn, including one developer with the surname Druckmann. Yep, the exact same spelling. And he worked at Naughty Dog for years. So is he related to Neil? No idea, but it is a mighty fine coincidence if not. They hired technical artists from Guerrilla and Infinity Ward, and of course former developers from Rockstar and Sony Santa Monica. They described the process as solving one problem at a time, with no ego and no room for shortcut culture. This wasn't, let's just hire juniors and work it all out mid-development. No, this was, let's hire bloody veterans in the industry and let them build. Heck, it's bold, it's possibly reckless, but you can feel it in the way they talk about it. This is a team trying to prove something, not just to the public, but to actually each other. Okay, so let's actually talk about what the heck they're making. Last Sentinel, it's a game set actually properly in a cyberpunk Tokyo. And that part really matters because the cyberpunk genre is rooted in Japanese culture, yet few games actually set their cyberpunk game in Japan, but Last Sentinel is doing just that. Last Sentinel's depiction of Tokyo is a real grounded one. Sometime in the next century. Not an alternate universe, but our own projected future after some kind of catastrophe. So we can imagine shrines, narrow back streets, mountain paths, real districts and roads, warped by decay, climate disaster, and decades of slow societal collapse. The game draws from urban design research, climate modeling, Japanese infrastructure, and social theory, all with consultants from Japan and the Japanese American community, working across narrative, animation, performance, and art. So as I say, this is not cyberpunk by aesthetic. It's cyberpunk through culture. Even the sound design reflects that, with shakuhachi flutes, koto strings, and traditional taiko rhythms woven into a score built for tension and melancholy. Simply in that sense alone, Last Sentinel might actually be the one true cyberpunk game that actually fully understands and embraces the genre's true roots. Speaking of the main character, our protagonist is Hiromi Shoda, a highly trained operative in a futuristic Tokyo where tension runs high and the system is barely holding. And regardless of how much of a badass she already sounds, she's actually the lens the entire game is built through. According to the team, every system from traversal to cinematography is designed around her, not just mechanically but also emotionally. She's described as flawed, powerful, and completely unique, with layers of contradiction that we are going to unravel across the story. Now, just a quick thing before we continue talking about this game's mechanics, I have officially partnered with Apex Gaming PCs, and they have a very rare, very excited July 4th promotion. This means 10% right now across all builds on the site, and an extra 3% with the code Jackdaw used at checkout. So whether you're looking to play the latest games in full detail, or you just want to upgrade your own streaming setup, now is the most opportune time to do so. Of course, links below, and this offer is exclusive to July 4th, so use it while you can. Okay, so let's now talk more about the mechanics, the actual gameplay aspect of Last Sentinel, and this is quite hard because everything we have seen so far has been based on development commentary, interviews, and just brief glimpses from the behind the scenes diaries. No official gameplay as of yet has been revealed, though there are early snippets of in-engine footage if we do look closely. Now, since it's still quite early on, what we do know so far is it is third-person, cinematic, open world with reactive physical combat. So to me, that means kind of like, think The Division meets Red Dead in a very detailed, vertically stacked Tokyo. Stunts are captured practically. One early sequence involved crashing a full-scale fabricated car rigged with 2 actors just to get the impact extra right. And they're using high-fidelity face rigs, environmental lighting systems, and advanced photogrammetry, which means scanning actual Japanese citizens to populate the world with realistic local faces. When they say they want to create a truly representative and original game, they absolutely mean it. And I think just the wildest quote I've heard so far in these development documentaries is the fact that the developers want to make experiences that make players actually cry from gameplay alone. Not just your cutscenes or your dialogue, but the mechanics, the ambition alone. That also may sound quite naive, especially when we actually haven't seen gameplay just yet, but I really do applaud that approach, and yeah, we'll just have to wait and see if this game does actually make any of us cry. I'll accept the challenge. With that as an ultimate summary of what we know so far, why does this matter, Jack? What is the point? Why do you even care yourself? Well, because most new AAA IPs, they're all starting now with their marketing. A logo, a quick little cinematic teaser, a slide deck titled something like Destiny meets Sekiro or whatever. We live in the era of live service titles or cashing in on a quick sequel or lacking that entire originality or publisher and corporate demands. Whereas Last Sentinel started with a studio, a handful of people who walked walked away from very stable jobs, and they came together during the pandemic and said, you know what, let's build something new, something risky, something that we as gamers ourselves would actually play. And equally in that same vein, this isn't Mind's Eye, where the creative lead was a quote Rockstar former producer, and the result felt more like an Unreal tech demo bundled into a metaverse launcher. It's open world then relying on user-generated content, built more to farm attention than to actually tell a story and create a unique gaming experience that many want to join in on. Last Sentinel is the exact opposite to that. Fully authored, handcrafted, every authentic detail shaped by a team that truly cares about narrative design, originality, and actually creating a good game. Not just engagement metrics or how many microtransactions can we throw into this thing. To me, this is a real studio with actual proper leadership and taking a real swing at it. Maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't. Either way, I'm certainly going to give them a real chance to see what they can do. Even the fact that they are just trying to do this properly, to build a fully original Cyberpunk IP with emotional stakes, cultural specificity, and complete creative freedom, that to me is so rare, especially now, and I'm going to support that where I see it. So I say, folks, let them cook. In due time, we'll see more of this game, and I will certainly be there to cover it. Of course, for the moment, there is no gameplay. There is no indicator of a release date. There is no big hype marketing machine trying to sell you what this game is all about. Hopefully that one will never be the case, and they can be just as authentic in their marketing. But Last Sentinel does have one thing that most AAA games don't, and that to me is at least clarity. Clarity of a setting, clarity of its character, and of course clarity of its purpose as an original Cyberpunk game. Last Sentinel isn't trying to be everything, it's trying to do its one thing and do it very, very well. Hopefully the devs achieve just that. I'm certainly rooting them on. Either way, let me know all of your thoughts down below. What do you think about Last Sentinel? Had you heard about it? Do you remember this as the game back at the Game Awards 2023? Do you remember seeing that initial trailer? What are your thoughts on the Cyberpunk genre as a whole? Personally, I'm a big fan of it. More RPGs in that genre, I am 1000% all for. Or are you in the other camp and you are still recovering from your previous Cyberpunk experience? Do let me know all of your thoughts down below and what you think so far of this game, at least based on what we know. But of course, until the next one, I have been Jackdaw, and I should go. Whoa, 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 whoa.